For EP, climbing walls and handholds is our business, but that's really not why we're here. We're here to enrich people's lives and introduce climbing to the world. We know that once somebody gets an opportunity to go indoors and climb on a climbing wall, that they're going to be hooked and they're going to be a climber for life.
Hello and welcome to Baku in Azerbaijan. We are here in a city of 2 million people just next to the Caspian Sea, getting ready for our speed final. We have had our qualifications already, 22 female athletes, 24 male athletes gathered here at the second competition of the season 2014, now whittled down into 16 of each, 16 men, 16 women. Our final lineup now as we move forward to see who is going to take the second gold medal of the season. Let's take a look at our start lists. Well, as you can see here, our speed world records as they stand at the moment. Evgeny Wojciechowski currently holding the men's world record at 5.88 seconds and Yulia Kaplina 7.85 seconds. What is also interesting is that actually Yulia set a world record here last year in Baku, 8.05 seconds for Yulia Kaplina. Previous world record in Baku. I'll update you on the world record situation in a short moment's time, but at the moment this is our last 16 for the female athletes. They've competed through this morning to try and make it into this final 16. Yulia Kaplina there, the first pairing against Ala Marienc, then Edita Ropek up against Alina Geda-Makina, Anouk Jaubert against Alexandra Elmer, Claudia Bukzek and Farnaz Esmi-Alzada, Maria Krasavina, Monika Prokopiuk, Margot Heitz and Anna Saiganova, Alexandra Rodzinska and Ksenia Polakina, then Yulia Levochkina and Esther Bruckner. Those are our 16 female athletes making it through into this stage, the first stage of the finals. We're going to be taking you all the way through our finals now until we have our medalists. Having a look at the men's then, next up, Libor Hroza and Reza Alaposhina Zandafar. Saw a lot of excitement from him over at the Asia Tour last year. He's back again here now and up against our titan of speed, Libor Hroza. Evgeny Wojciechowski up against Lucas Sverk. Stanislav Kokorin, our winner from last year here in Baku, and Sergei Sunitsin. Marcin Dziensky up against Bassa Mawem of France. Zhong Xichin of China up against Jerzy Komazinski. Yaroslav Gontarik and Leonardo Gontero. And Daniel Boldarev and Vladislav Dulin. Arseny Shevchenko and Anton Polyakov. Those are our 16 male athletes up here and getting ready to come out to battle it out for a place on that podium here at Baku 2014. Just to keep you updated on the record situation as it stands at the moment, the world record situation here, there is going to be no world record here, unfortunately. There is the officials have been out and had a look at the wall and deemed it not up to standard, unfortunately, and I'll tell you why that is in a few moments' time. Here again, the speed world records, the previous 3 world records that we have. Esther Bruckner there for France and Yulia Levochkina, renowned for breaking her own world record, not only breaking the world record, but breaking her own fastest time 3 times in one competition back in 2013 at Chamonix. Also then for the men, Sergei Abdrakhmanov, and also Stanislav Kokorin. Earlier on, our winner from here last year, 6.08 seconds. As it stands at the moment, Yulia Kaplina put in a time here of 8.05 last year in one of the final rounds. Now, the reason that this has not been deemed an official wall here is that the gap at the bottom of the wall here, and you'll have a look at it a little bit later on as well, the space between the bottom board and the floor has to be roughly 200 millimeters in space. The space at the bottom of the wall, the boardings to the floor, is 200 millimeters. Now, the amount of leverage they're allowed on that, the amount of difference they're allowed, is plus or minus 1 millimeter. That's it. That's how exact it is here to make sure that it is an official wall. That's why we don't always have an official wall at these speed events. You're allowed plus or minus 1 millimeter. That is it. And here they've gone a little bit more or a little bit less in a couple of places, which makes it unfortunately not an official wall here, so no world records will be set. And that's due to the fact that we are out in this flag square at the moment, this part next to the bottom of the Caspian Sea. And the surface here is not quite even enough, and due to that there's been a little bit more than a millimetre given predominantly on the right hand side of the wall. So it'll be Route B here that's not giving us those world records, unfortunately. Obviously, we've got that new rule as well that's just come in this year that we saw taking into effect in Chongqing just recently. The no movement rule. You're not allowed to move at all. No forward body movement, no rocking, no pulling on the holds at all until the green light has gone at the bottom. So the athletes are waiting on that green buzzer. And until that green light and the beep has gone, if they show any movement, that can be deemed as a false start here. Our athletes are only allowed one false start. Any more than that throughout the entire competition, that is, as well. So that'll be during the qualifying rounds earlier on today into now the finals as well. It's not per race, it's per competition. They're allowed that one false start. As you can see here, that's the gap at the bottom of the wall that I was talking about, A and B. You can see the space in between the bottom of the paneling and the floor underneath it. Looks pretty exact from here, but when you're dealing with 1 millimeter plus or minus, it's kind of hard for the eye to see. Our technical delegate here, Graham Alderson, and the team of the IFSC officials have measured the wall right down to the millimetre and decided that it's not exactly accurate, not enough to set records on, unfortunately. So yeah, this non-movement rule, this came into place due to the fact that a lot of the coaches were making a statement of the fact that there is a difference. If you are climbing on Route A here and you're facing, due to the start position, away from your opponent, you're not really thinking about them. They're not in your sight line until you're climbing up on the wall. And when you're on Route B, unfortunately, you can still see the opponent. You can still see the competitor that's climbing on Route A. And because you can see that person there, if you were to start pumping or start to get ready on Route A, Route B's looking at you, it can put them off and cause false starts in them as well. So a new rule was brought into place in Chongqing. And that caused quite a bit of dramas last week. If you were joining us then, the replay is up online. You can watch that anytime you want to. If you want to get in touch with us here at the venue, you can do so using the hashtag IFSCWC. That's IFSCWC. I'll be online all day today, so if you need to ask any questions, you want to get in touch with us here at the venue, you know where to go. Quite a few of the big names from last year here in Baku at the speed competition have rejoined us again to defend their title. Yulia Kaplina and Stanislav Kokorin, the winners of last year, are both here. Yaroslav Guntarik took second here last year. He's here again now as well, as did Alina Gaidamakina, and she's here again. Third place last year went to Alexandra Rudzinska in the women's, and she's in the final 16 as well, and Leonardo Guntero is the same. So both of our podiums, men's and women's, are both present here in the final 16. Just to keep you updated on that new rule then that came into place in Chongqing. As I mentioned, there were quite a few dramas about that last week. Just to let you know what's happening at the moment. Following the numerous appeals raised by athletes and team managers during the IFSC Speed World Cup in Chongqing in China, held on the 26th and 27th of April 2014, and looking at the impact on the event running well, as well as the impact on the sports presentation, the IFSC Sports Department has decided, with the approval of the IFSC Executive Board, to suspend the application of the point B of the Rule 8.9.8 that is written as follows. A competitor shall be ruled as having made a false start if, in the opinion of the starter or an assigned recaller, the competitor either A, leaves the starting pad at any time after the starter has declared ready and before the starting signal, or B, does not remain totally motionless after the starter has declared ready and before the starting signal, or C, reacts to the starting signal in less than 1/10 of a second. So the one that's most important to us here at the moment is B, does not remain totally motionless after the starter has declared ready and before the starting signal. So that was the new rule that came into place in Chongqing. It is under evaluation at the moment. We're going to wait and see what the IFSC decides on that one, whether it will be a rule that stays in place or whether they will be scrapping that rule after Chongqing. The suspension is valid for the IFSC Speed World Cup in Baku and will be confirmed or not after this event. In addition, the Sport Department and the Rules Commission will work on a rule update to solve the issue before the next Speed World Cup following the Baku stage. That was from Helmut Nabel, who's IFSC Vice President in Sports and the events here. So that letter went out just recently, and that's what we're working with under these conditions at the moment. So it was a rule that was brought into place at the start of the season, and at the moment they're deciding on whether that's going to be in place for the rest of the season or not. Now, with me to discuss that a little bit further now and the events of Chongqing, just before we get started here, is our IFSC technical delegate, and that is Mr. Graham Alderson. Here you are, Graham, how are you?
I'm fine, Dan, how are you?
Very well. Right, talk us through this idea then. So we had this with Chongqing, we wanted to employ this new rule at the start of the year, and now we're sort of debating it.
Yeah, well, the concept has the full support of all the coaches, the idea of being totally motionless. But the problem with saying totally motionless is totally motionless means totally motionless. So the slightest twitch is against the rules, and that's not the idea that we're trying to do. We are trying to stop deliberate movement, significant movement, but it's really hard to write a rule that says that. So what we found last week is we didn't actually have any appeals at all in the qualification, but in the finals we were having appeals, not in every race, but we had quite a few appeals, and basically if you lost you considered appealing, and why not? You know, it's within the rules. So all of the appeals were made on behalf of or by people who lost the heat, so they'd appeal if they thought there was movement, because as often as not there was minimal movement and nobody actually appealed against that. So it's not as if the coaches and the athletes were appealing about everything. There was movement because we checked it, and most of the appeals were upheld. So there was not significant movement, but enough movement to fall foul of the rule. So, as I say, the concept is more about eliminating significant or medium movement, but the rule says all movement. So, of course, we have to re-evaluate the rule. We've suspended it with the support of the coaches, and we'll look at it after this competition. And we've got 2 months until Chamonix to evaluate it and decide what to do.
Talk to us a little bit about the appeals that we often get in speed, just before I let you go and get on with this one. That's a frequent occurrence that we have the appeals. What are the rulings for appeals, and how often is a team or a coach allowed to appeal and interrupt the competition if it's a valid complaint?
Well, actually, I think we are reducing the number of appeals, apart from this new problem last week. We didn't actually have appeals about anything else. But within the qualification, you have to appeal in writing, and there's an appeal fee for that. So unless the coach is 100% certain they are not going to appeal, but in finals you're allowed to appeal verbally. So you do tend to get more appeals, and because there's no fee. I mean, it's understandable if you're not being charged a fee, you're going to chance your arm a little bit.
So there's always a cost for it, but they are actually allowed to appeal as many times as they feel like they want to.
There's no cost in the finals.
There's no cost in the final either, so they can just appeal whenever they want to, but there's no limit on that.
But I mean, luckily the coaches do their job properly. They don't just appeal about everybody. They only appeal when they feel they have justification. So they're doing their job properly, and they're not playing the rules.
Thanks, Graham. I'm going to let you go off. Thank you very much. So a quick start then with Julia Kaplina up against Ala Marienc here, and a stumble from Ala Marienc allowing Julia Kaplina to take quite the lead here as well. 8.84 seconds. Not her fastest by a long shot, but fast enough. 8.84 seconds against 11.41 for Ala Marienc. Pushes Julia Kaplina into the next stage of the final. We are underway with our top 16 female athletes now to wilt that down to 8. If you are new to the speed discipline, you're not entirely sure how this works, our athletes have been competing earlier on today, as I mentioned earlier as well. 22 female athletes, 24 male athletes through to this stage of the final. of the qualifying rounds, sorry. And from the qualifying rounds, with those 22 and the 24, we take only 16 that go through to this stage of the final. Apologies for that. So these are the top 16 out of those athletes that are now through into the final stages. Now, to decide on who's moving further at this stage, we pair them up. So this is our second pair here, which is Edita Ropek over on the left-hand side, and Alina Geda-Mäkinen, our second place, our silver medalist from 2013. In our second pair. Now the winner of this duel goes forward into the final 8, the loser of which is out of the competition at this stage and will be ranked according to their time, with the rest of the losers of the bouts. Here we are with our second one then, pretty much neck and neck at the moment. Geda-Mäkinen trying to push forward, but Ropek holding on here. This is going to be close. It is Geda-Mäkinen though that moves forward, 9.38 seconds. Sees Geda-Mäkinen moving forward. Julia Kaplina still with the fastest time here at this stage of 8.84 against 9.38 there from Geda-Mäkinen. So once we have our 8 athletes, they are yet again put into pairs, and we race until we have 4. Again, the losers are ranked according to their speed. Once we have 4 athletes, we have our races again. We take 2 of them forward into the grand final. That is a shot for the gold or the silver medal. Those are the winners of each of those races, and the losers of each of those races goes into the small final. Now, the small final is to compete for the bronze medal. And I'll keep you updated on that as we go through that and start to approach that stage a little bit later on. We're now moving on to Anouk Jalbert of France and Alexandra Elmer here. And next pairing, the final 16 female speed athletes here. And we are away, clean start from both athletes. Jalbert starting to take a lead here. Elmer starting to fall behind. Jalbert still holding on here. She's still powering up. Nice, nearly a complete body length ahead there. 8.95 seconds, still not the fastest we've seen. But more than enough to see her through to the next stage. Jalbert had a good time at Chongqing just recently. An impressive performance on the first stage of the IFSC 2014 year. Ended up taking home the bronze medal there. Klaudia Buczek next up for Poland, up against Farnaz Esmailzadeh of Iran. Nice to see Iran putting in a nice strong effort on the speed discipline recently. Reza Alaposhina Zandafar making it through into the final 16. Also, we remember him from the Asia Tour last year back in Haiyang. Incredibly impressive performance there for him. Good strong start from both athletes. Buczek starting to fall behind, then Esmailzadeh trying to pull a lead here. Buczek, can she reclaim this at the last moment? Yes, she can. By the skin of her teeth, 9.32 there for Klaudia Buczek. Not much in that at all. Farnaz Esmailzadeh is going to be a little bit disappointed with that, but Buczek moving forward here, still with the fastest time in the women's top 16 of 8.84 seconds by Julia Kaplina. We move on to our next pairing. Maria Krasavina up against Monika Prokopiuk. Maria Krasavina 7th place here last year, 2013. Looking to improve on that this year. Try and make her way up into the medals. Another one with an impressive performance last week. Maria Krasavina taking the silver medal in Chongqing. Several medals from last year as well. 2nd place at Wuyang, silver there, and also took the bronze at Haiyang. 4th place at Mokpo, just missing out. Maria Krasavina, a good start there from her. Prokopiuk with an early stall, then Krasavina firing ahead and holding a good lead here. 8.72. A new fastest time here from Maria Krasavina. It's looking like we're having a repeat of Chongqing all over again. Krasavina consistently throughout the finals in Chongqing put in the fastest time of all of the female athletes all the way through to the final stage, where she came up against Yulia Kaplina, and then all of a sudden Kaplina pulled out that extra little bit of speed to defeat Krasavina for the title there. Yulia Kaplina taking the first gold of the season up against her teammate Maria Krasavina. Both athletes incredibly fast, very impressive past records. Margot Heitz next up against Anna Saiganova. Margot Heitz came 4th here last year in Baku, so this year she's very much going to be wanting to get at least into the small final and improve on that to try and get herself up onto a podium. Just missed out on a medal last year, made it all the way through to the small final. Let's see if she can best Anna Saiganova now. Good start from both athletes. Anna Saiganova starting to take a lead here though. Heitz, can she reclaim it? Falling behind. Saiganova all the way at the moment. 9.21 for Saiganova. Unfortunately, that dream ends here for Margot Heitz. Anna Saiganova moves forward to fight another day. Or in that case, the same day, roughly about 5 minutes from now. Once we have our final 8 for the female athletes, we'll be moving over to the male athletes, going through our top 16, and then back to the female athletes for that final 8 bout, whittling down to 4 athletes, then back to the men's. And that's how we work here. We jump from women's to men's at each stage of the finals. Next up, Alexandra Rudzinska came 3rd here last year. She's up against Ksenia Polakina, we saw last week in Chongqing. Not such a good time for Ksenia Polakina. Good start from both athletes. Polakina moving a little bit more fluid than Rudzinska at the moment, and it's starting to show here. She's starting to take a lead. And there you see what a quick pop at the end can do for you. 8.68 for Rudzinska. It's almost like our athletes gain an extra second at the end there, depending on how quick they can make that final jump, that dyno up onto the stop pad. Our new fastest time here today then, Alexandra Rudzinska, 8.68. Yulia Levochkina, previous world record holder, definite contender here. She came 8th last year though. Not a great run for Baku for her. She's going to be looking to make up for that. 24 years old from Krasnoyarsk. Came 3rd at Uyang last year. 4th just recently in Chongqing, so just missed out on a medal. Last gold medal is all the way back in Mokpo 2012. Esther Bruckner with her as well here. Good start from both athletes. Yulia Levochkina starting to take a lead. We would expect that here. Esther Bruckner starting to fall behind. Levochkina still fighting. 8.83 for our current world champion. Which is now our new fastest time here as well. Took the championship title in Bercy last year. We've got those world championships coming up later this year as well, so she's going to be looking to keep up on peak form in preparation for that, trying to reclaim her title, hold on to it for another 2 years. We only have our world championships every 2 years, have our European championships in between. This should be one for the books. Libor Hroza against Reza Alaposhina Zandafar. Now, Alapozina Zandafar, incredible performance over in Haiyang recently. Libor Rosa took the bronze medal just recently in Chongqing. False start from Rosa, and we see here some pressure on Libor. Seriously concerned about this one. Got to stay calm at this stage. That's a yellow card, as you can see there, that pops up. If he false starts again at any stage of this competition, he will be eliminated from the competition. 26-year-old athlete, world rank number 2. Here we are, good start from both athletes. And Alaposhina has had a devastating stumble earlier on. What a shame, he's trying to pull it back though. Nearly does, but not quite enough. Now that's gone in Libor's favor, despite the yellow card that he now has to his name. A real shame there for Reza. Fantastic athlete, very good performances, and we've seen him in the past. And we want him to be encouraged this year because we want to see more of him. Evgeny Wojciechowski next up then, came 5th here last year. Current world record holder with 5.88 seconds, now on the left-hand side up against Lukas Schwerk, who came 6th here last year. 6th. Number 5 against number 6 from Baku 2013. One of them is going to fail to come in the top 10 here, or is likely to. Good start from both athletes, but Wojciechowski taking advantage of those longer limbs. Very, very fluid all the way up to the top. 6.41. The new fastest time for Wojciechowski. Next up, Stanislav Kokorin up against Sergei Sinitsyn, another one to watch out for. Kokorin, first here at the end of last year in Baku. He's got a gold medal to defend. Sergei Sinitsyn, one of the older, more experienced speed climbers. There is Sinitsyn there. World ranked number 1, Stanislav Kokorin, and has been at the top of the World Cup rankings since 2012. Gold medals last week in Chongqing, as well as being the previous title holder of Baku 2013. Gold medal also in Ruyang last year, silver medal at Haiyang last year, 2 bronze medals, 1 at Mokpo, 1 at Arco. The World Cups we had last year. First place at Baku, obviously. First place at Chongqing 2013 as well. We have an error message appearing on the clocks here. It's looking like we could have a technical issue on the ground here. Bear with us a moment, we'll try and get this sorted for you. Sergei Sinitsyn, 30 years old, from Ekaterinburg, world ranked 13th against world ranked number 1. Good start from both of them. Kokorin powering ahead here. Can he hold it? Sinitsyn's chasing him, but it's Kokorin all the way. 6.47 seconds against 6.89. Not quite as fast as Wojciechowski, but enough to see him through. Kokorin moves forward. Marcin Dzienski of Poland up against Basa Małam next of France. Małam with a very impressive performance last week at Chongqing. Pushing into the 6-second bracket, which is not what I was used to seeing from Bassa. 29 years old, Nancy, world ranked 22nd, came 5th in Chongqing. We've got a technical issue here on the ground. It's of our IFSC officials just discussing and making sure everything's fine to continue. And here we are then with Marcin Dzienski and Bassa Małym. Marcin on the left-hand side, Bassa on the right. So just a heads up for some of you guys that might be joining us as well. Remember that the rule that we put into place in Chongqing at the moment is suspended. So movement before the green light at this competition is allowed until the IFSC get together and make a firm decision on that. Good start from both athletes. Bassa Małym trying to take a lead here. Dzienski still fighting. A stall from Dzienski and a chance for Bassa. There it is, 6.39. Massive improvement from Bassa recently. He is here to dominate this year. That's the fastest time we've seen today, even faster than Wojciechowski. Małym moves forward. Dzienski is out. Next up, Zhong Sichin up against Jerzy Komazinski. Zhong Sichin. Good performance last week in Chongqing. Looks set to be moving forward in towards the finals. The big finals, that is. After these stages here. Was pulled up on an appeal from the Russians. Asked to rerun. Ended up losing that spot in the final. So he's here for revenge this week. False start here from Komazinski. And away with a good start this time. Zhong with a stumble earlier on. Komazinski with a massive opportunity. Zhong trying to fight it back. And he manages it, believe it or not. 6.78 seconds. Very impressive performance there from Zhong Sichin. It was looking like Jerzy was going to be able to hold on to that then. Stumble at the start, drop a couple of milliseconds, and that's more than enough to knock you out of a competition like this. Not so for Sichin, previous world record holder, 6.26 seconds. Here we see him with 6.78. Still with Bassa Małym though for our fastest time, 6.39. Yaroslav Gontarek next up, our second place athlete from Baku 2013, up against Leonardo Gontero, our third place athlete from 2013. So whichever one of them wants to hold on to their medal the most this year will be the one that goes forward. for the other athlete, despite how they performed last year, it comes down to this. To lose here is a goodbye to holding on to the medal you achieved last year, fortunately, as they are drawn together here at this stage based on how they performed in the qualifying rounds. Here we are away. Gontarek really wants this at the moment. Gontarek's fighting for it, but Gontarek all the way by the look. 6.55 seconds. So unfortunately, Leonardo Gontero, our bronze medalist from 2013 in Baku, has to say a fond farewell to his medal this year. Move on to Daniil Boldarev and Vladislav Dulin, our penultimate pairing here. You might notice that Daniil's name has been changed from Danilo to Daniil. It's because of a conversation we had with him last week where he actually informed us that his name is Daniil, not Danilo. But due to an error when his coach first submitted his name to the IFSC, I don't know whether it was a large full stop or something, I don't know. But it's been Danilo for the past 3 years or more. Very early start there from Vladislav Dulin. And our athletes get ready again. Good start from both athletes this time. Boldarev starting to take a lead here and holding it. That extra height giving him the advantage. 6.37 seconds. The new fastest time for today. Daniil Boldarev. Our final pair then, Arseny Shevchenko and Anton Polyakov, before we go back over to the female athletes and the final 8 there to whittle them down into 4. Another set of races coming up for you in a moment.
And then we have 2 lesson climbers from Russia, Arseny Shevchenko and Anton Polyakov.
Arseny Shevchenko 17th last year on the left-hand side here. That means that he's already bested his previous result. There he is on lane 8. Anton Polyakov here as well. Let's see if Shevchenko can move forward. False start from Anton Polyakov. And here we go again, much better this time from both athletes. Shevchenko starting to take a lead here. Can he hold on to it? Yes, he can. There will be no finishing up in 17th or 16th place this year. 6.63 seconds for Shevchenko. Time now to go back over to the female athletes, our final 8 there. Well, looks like Sergei Sinitsyn, so it's looking like we are having a rerun here. It's Stanislav Kokorin and Sergei Sinitsyn. It looked like there was some discussion happening earlier on when these two athletes made to leave the bottom of the wall competition area. We are definitely having a re-race then. False start here from Sinitsyn. And that must have been his second, because there he goes, Sergei Sinitsyn finishing up here. Kokorin makes it through into the next stage. Sinitsyn, unfortunately, only allowed one false start. All athletes here. 2 and you are eliminated from the competition, as he has been now. Korin moves forward into the next stage. Getting ready then for the female athletes to come out and join us again. Yulia Kapluna and Editor Ropek back out then for this race to see which of them is making it through into the final 4. Yulia Kapluna with the time earlier of 8.84 seconds. I do apologise, I think we've got an issue here, because that's Gator Makina there on the right hand side, not Editor Ropek. And it is Kaplina that moves forward. 8.42 seconds. Which is a real shame for Gator Makina, considering she did so well here last year with the silver medal. She's going to be disappointed with that one. Yulia Kaplina moves forward to the next stage. Teammates, no harm done. Shake her hands and back behind. Apologies for the little error there. On now then to Anuk Yarbut and Claudia Buksek. Earlier time for Anuk of 8.95 seconds. Claudia Buksek 9.32. So Anuk has been the faster climber so far here today. Last year, Buksek came 5th and Anuk came 6th. Let's see which one of them is going to be able to go forward into the top 4. Athletes take their starting positions. Clean start from both. Yarbut takes an early lead here. Buksek trying to fight back, but Yarbut is holding on and pushing forward. Anuk all the way. 8.53 seconds. She put in the faster time earlier on. She's done it again here. Robert through to the next stage of the finals and will face Yulia Kaplina in the next stage for a shot at the medals. Next up, Maria Krasavina up against Anna Saiganova. Maria Krasavina with an earlier time of 8.72 seconds. Anna Saiganova with a 9.21. Showing at the moment then that Maria Krasavina is the faster of the 2 climbers. Krasavina, who came 7th here last year. Good start from both athletes. Krasavina trying to take a lead. Saiganova holding on though. Krasavina taking that lead. Saiganova with the stall. 8.46. Saiganova nearly coming down there. Ended up with a time of 11.61, but 8.46 is more than enough here to see Krasavina through. Competition where milliseconds count and can make all the difference. The final pair then here, Alexandra Rudzinska up against Yulia Levochkina. Now this should be a good one. Rudzinska came third here last year. She's put in a good performance recently in Chongqing. Yulia Levochkina came 8th here last year, but is a previous world record holder and the current world champion. Levochkina getting into the right mindset. Motor neurons ready to fire. Good start. Rudzinska starting to take a lead, believe it or not, against Levochkina, our current world champion. It's Rudzinska all the way. 8.40. Yulia Levochkina 8.83. Not enough. Rudzinska through to the next stage of the finals. It's looking like it could be a repeat here for Levochkina, as it was with previous years, or last year in particular. Up and down one, Levochkina, sometimes incredibly fast, showing up all the other competition, and other times just not quite in the right mindset, as we've seen here now. .40 seconds there for Rudzinska, which was the fastest time in this stage of our final. Over now for Libor Hroza and Evgeny Wojciechowski. This again should be a good one. Both athletes very, very tall. Similar style. Wojciechowski, the current world record holder. Libor Hroza, the world ranked number 2 at the moment. Good start, neck and neck, but Hroza's trying to take a lead here. Wojciechowski falling behind. It is Hroza. No, a missed button by the look of things. He's shaking his head here. And this is where we could have some appeals maybe coming in. Wojciechowski looking like he was the one that managed it there with a time of 6.46 seconds. Libor Hroza's clock is currently still running. So at the moment it would seem that Wojciechowski is the one that will be going forward, but wait to see whether there'll be an appeal on that. Looking like Hroza's not leaving the mat at the moment. And here we see our officials gathering to try and sort it out. So the judges have gathered here in the media tent to have a little look at that footage, and we're going to give you that footage as well back at home here. Give you a chance to watch the very top here of Libor's climb. There you can see him on the ground having a discussion. They're trying to get Bassam out here. Here it is, the last stage of that climb. You can see Libor there on the left-hand side, powering ahead. Almost a full body width ahead of Wojciechowski here. Getting towards the top. Here comes the big jump in a moment. Here it is. And the clock keeps running. We'll try and see if we can see that again for you guys. it's just that last little bit we want to see. I think it's just that moment there as he hits the touchpad at the top, deciding whether full contact is happening here on that touchpad or not. Here it is again for you. We'll wait to see what the judge's decision is on that one. Here we see it again. Final few frames here for you. Okay. So the decision from the judges then is that that was a technical incident. There will be a rerun here now. Here we are with Gontarek and Zichin. And an early fall here from Yaroslav Gontarek, disappointing. 6.66 though for Zichin Zong. Bad news there for Yaroslav Gontarek, unfortunately not managing to make it to the top. A tricky slip there for him. Shows you how much a difference can make. Just one inaccurate move can bring you down. And I can let you know now, it's looking like there was a false start with Bassam Mawem and Stanislav Kokorin's race, but they have been told to wait anyway, so we still have that coming up for you in a moment. We know as well that Libor Hroza and Evgeny Wojciechowski's race will be rerun now due to the decision of the judges a few moments ago, but also we're waiting for Bassam Mawem and Stanislav Kokorin. So while we are waiting for this to develop, we're going to move on to Danil Boldyrev and Arseny Shevchenko. It's our final pairing of the four. The only athlete that we know for definite that it's going through now into the final four for the men is Zong Zichin, after just defeating Yaroslav Gontarek and that tricky fall there a few moments ago. Danil now on the left-hand side, Arseny on the right. Good start from both athletes, still neck and neck at this stage. Danil starting to take in a lead and holding it all the way, 6.26, which is actually the previous world record set by Zong Zichin, the previous competitor. Danil's just hit it on the head. Well, I can tell you now that the reason that that race had been stalled earlier on with Stanislav Kokorin and Bassam Mawem is that actually Kokorin has had his second false start now of this competition, meaning that Bassam Mawem will go forward into the final four. And just so that we can see that ourselves. Oh, I do apologize. We're going to go to Libor Hroza by the look of things here. We'll play it for you in a moment. So Libor Hroza here on the left-hand side, Evgeny Wojciechowski. This is the re-race from earlier on due to Hroza and the appeal that came in. technical issue. We're going to have that re-race then, and we will show you the Basamauem and Stanislav Kokorin false start that caused Kokorin to be out of the competition. Basamauem moves forward. Here we are again then with this race. Can Libor? No, he can't. He's still too early. It's Wojciechowski all the way, 6.54. Devastating for the athlete from the Czech Republic. 6.54 seconds is enough to see Wojciechowski through to the next stage. A slip and a fall from Libor Hroza, unfortunately, knocks him out of the competition. We have our final 4 male athletes then. Evgeny Wojciechowski, Basamauem, Zong Sichin and Daniel Boldarev. Let's have a look at that false start earlier on. They saw Basa through into this stage. Here they are, Stanislav Kokorin on the left-hand side, Basamauem on the right. Now Kokorin at this stage already had 1 false start. And that was it from Kokorin yet again. Waiting for that green light. Not so there for Kokorin. And unfortunately that was his second false start, so he has been eliminated from this competition. Basamauem will go forward. Here he is putting in a time for that. .80 for Basamauem, which is at this stage the slowest time to go forward into the final 4, but not by all that much. Daniel Boldarev, 6.26 is the fastest. Zong Shishin with 6.66. Evgeny Wojciechowski, the fastest this second set of 6.54. Daniel Boldarev, 6.26 is currently the fastest time from any male athlete in this competition. Back over to the female athletes then. The final 4 of these, the loser of this race between Julia Kaplina and Anuk Jalbert will go forward into the small final, so they won't be eliminated at this stage. They will have another race to come, whatever the result of this. These are our big finals now. These are the ones that really count for these athletes. Julia Kaplina, our current world rank number 1, also our winner here from last year, and also our winner from Chongqing last week. On the left-hand side, and Anuk Jalbert on the right. Jalbert taking a lead here. Kaplina fighting for it. It's still Jalbert. Kaplina right at the very last. 8.19 sees her through into the grand final. .45 sees Jalbert into the small final. So Kaplina guaranteed now either a gold or silver medal. We get ready to welcome Maria Krasavina up against Alexandra Rudzinska of Poland. Rudzinska came 3rd here last year, so she really doesn't want to see herself through to the small final now. And with Geda Makina out early on in this competition, only Kaplina stands between her and a shot at the gold. If she can win this, Rudzinska on the right-hand side, we're going to see a repeat of last year. Good start from both athletes. Krasavina taking a very early lead and holding it full body width ahead. Rudzinska falling behind. It's Krasavina all the way. .23 seconds there for Rudzinska. Sorry, 10.23. sees her through into the small final. A repeat of last year happening right now for her. The best she can hope for is to beat Anok Yalbert and have that bronze medal yet again. Getting ready to move back over onto the male athletes, and for their final here, first pairing, Evgeny Wojciechowski up against Bassam Mawem. Cover athletes, Bassam Mawem, 29 years old. Best result so far for him to date is 5th place at Chongqing, and he's already bettered that here. So it's a good start to the season for him. Beating Wojciechowski here will give him his first ever medal. Can it be done? Wojciechowski, the current world record holder, 5.88 seconds. Both athletes of a similar stature, though. Good start from both. Wojciechowski fighting. Mawem not letting him off the hook this easy, though. It's all the way. By 0.05 of a second, we see Evgeny Wojciechowski make it through. Very, very close. 6.30 against 6.35 from Bassam Mawem. Mawem still in with a shot here of taking home a bronze medal. Although that fight will be against one of these two gentlemen here, Zong Shichin and Daniil Boldarev. The winner goes up against Evgeny Wojciechowski in the grand final and will secure themselves, at the very least, the silver medal. The loser will have to face Bassam Mawem in the small final for the bronze medal.
Quarterfinal for the men, from China, Zong Shichin, and from Ukraine, Daniil Boldarev.
Earlier times, Zong Shichin 6.66, Daniil Boldarev's 6.26. Boldarev has been consistently faster throughout this competition. Good start for both. Boldarev taking an instant lead. Can Zong pull it back on the... No, there's a stumble there. It is Boldarev through to this grand final now, 6.11 against 6.91 here for Zong. It will be Boldarev against Wojciechowski in the grand final. Zong versus Mawem in the small final. We now go back over to the female athletes. Go back to our small final there. This for the bronze medal then. Alexandra Rudzinska up against Anok Yalbert. Earlier time, Alexandra Rudzinska of 10.23 seconds. That was after a stall. And Anok Yalbert 8.45. Looking at previous results, though, Rudzinska did initially put in the fastest time of this competition with 8.68 seconds. And also in the next stage, 8.40 up against Yalbert's 8.53 and 8.95. So Rudzinska has been performing better overall than Anok. Rudzinska also has the weight on her shoulders of the bronze medal here from last year. Good start from both athletes. Anok taking an early lead though, and Rudzinska is down. It is Yalbert all the way here. Disaster strikes for Poland and for Alexandra Rudzinska. 8.73 seconds. Sees Jobert take the bronze medal. Big shame there for Alexandra Rudzinska. Yulia Kaplina, Maria Krasavina for the gold medal here, the second Speed World Cup of 2014. Kaplina 8.19 from earlier on. Krasavina 8.69 from the last bout. Kaplina, traditionally the faster climber, traditionally the gold medalist. Is it all about to change? Or will Yulia manage to maintain a status quo here? Good start from both athletes. Krasavina fighting for it, and a stall from Kaplina is buying her some time here. Can Krasavina hold it? Kaplina has gone. 8.55 seconds sees Maria Krasavina, the new queen of Baku here with the gold medal. What a turnaround here. Kaplina unfortunately is going to have to settle for silver this year. With a fall on that one, the clock is still running for Kaplina. No time there for her. Second place. Maria Krasavina becomes the new gold medalist of Baku in 2014. We now go over to the men's and to Zhong Shixin up against Bassam Mawam. This for the bronze medal. Mawam with an earlier time of 6.35 seconds against Zhong Shixin's 6.91. Zhong earlier with a 6.66 against Bassam Mawam's 6.80. So they've been switching which of them has been fastest throughout the course of this competition. We definitely saw Bassa a few moments ago put a shift on as soon as he came up against Evgeny Wojciechowski. How's he going to face when he comes up against Zhong Shixin, our previous world record holder here? Can this be, could it be, the very first medal for Bassam Mawam of his career? 29 years old. The closest he's ever come is 5th in Chongqing last week. Big step up for this performer, this athlete. Tension builds. Athletes begin to take their marks. Good start now, and Zhong Shixin takes an early lead. Bassam Mawam with a stumble, and that could be it for him, unfortunately. It is. 6.39 sees it going to Zhong Shixin. 10.41 for Bassam Mawam. Just due to that unfortunate stumble at the very beginning of that there. Unfortunate there for Bassa. So, for the gold medal here now then, Evgeny Wojciechowski up against Daniil Boldarev. Boldarev with an earlier time of 6.11 against Wojciechowski's 6.30. Boldarev has consistently been the fastest climber in this competition. 6.37 his first result at the top 16, then on to a 6.26, which again was faster and still the fastest climb of the comp, then to a 6.11. which is still the fastest climb we've seen today. Can Boldarev hold that up and maintain it against the man that we know is the fastest speed climber in the world, Evgeny Wojciechowski? Wojciechowski with a stumble, and Boldarev is off and away here, and it's looking like it's going to be him. 6.09. Not only does he manage to take the gold medal away from our world record holder, but he also bests his own time here today as well, and consistently proves that Daniil Boldarev has been faster from the very off. Celebrations there from Daniil Boldarev from the very top. 6.09 against 7.30 for Evgeny Wojciechowski. First place for Daniil Boldarev of the Ukraine. Second place Evgeny Wojciechowski of Russia. Third place, Zhong Xixin of China. Fantastic result there for Boldarev. World ranked 8th. And the last gold medal was back in Mokpo in 2012. 2 years since his last gold medal, and here it is now then today, after an early stall there from Evgeny. Well, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be the last time that we are a little bit unsure of the rules here, as over the next gap in the speed season, the IFSC chiefs will be getting together to decide on that motionless start rule and to approve or scrap that rule. So on your screen now is the results from the men's lead final. The highlighted blue athletes here are the athletes that won in their earlier rounds and go forward into the next ones. You can see the quarterfinals there. Libor Hroza against Evgeny Wojciechowski and Stanislav Kokorin against Bassam Mawem. Mawem and Wojciechowski both won that one, and so they went forward to face each other in the semi-finals, which is a little bit lower than that on your screen. And then Zhong Xixin and Daniel Boldarev both won their bouts and went forward into facing each other on the semi-finals as well. Then you can see the winner of each of those ones, Evgeny Wojciechowski up against Daniel Boldarev, meaning that Bassam Mawem was versus Zhong Xixin in the semi-final for the third place, the small final, which was taken by Zhong Xixin. And then the grand final was Daniel Boldarev up against Evgeny Wojciechowski, and it was Daniel who took the first place, the gold medal position here. Wojciechowski having to settle for the silver. Fantastic result here for them. And here we see then for the female athletes in the same, Yulia Kaprina against Lena Gaida-Makina, Anuk Jalbert won against Claudia Buksek, Maria Krasavina beat Anna Saiganova, and Alexandra Rodzinska defeated Yulia Levachkina. To see Yulia Kaprina up against Anuk Jalbert and Yulia winning that bout, Maria Krasavina up against Alexandra Rodzinska and Maria winning that one, which meant that Yulia and Maria went into the final, the grand final, the main final for the gold and silver place. And the losers of the semi-finals, Anuk Jalbert and Alexandra Rodzinska, went into the small final for the bronze medal position. You see them there. Anuk Jalbert took that, so she took the bronze medal. Yulia Kaprina takes the silver, and Maria Krasavina takes the gold. So guys, we're going to leave you now for a little while. We're going to be back our finals for the men and women bouldering here in Baku is due to start at 5 o'clock. We're going to be back with you around 22:05. That's 16:40 hours to get ready and to say hello to all of you guys, show you some of our behind the scenes footage. So do come and join us for that one as well. And we'll get ready for the second bouldering final of 2014. My name is Daniel Finn, and I'll see you very shortly here in Baku.